leadership buy-in. Leadership buy-in refers to leaders' support for a particular strategy or initiative. So, when it comes to EDI leadership buy-in, it's about whether an organization's leaders support EDI. This support is crucial because it ensures that EDI initiatives will actually be given the resources needed to succeed. Without leadership buy-in, EDI initiatives often fail to gain traction or take off. If leadership does not prioritize EDI, neither will the rest of the organization. They will not have the incentive or motivation to do this work because it is work. EDI takes time and effort, and most people do not have the time or effort to spare. In today's world, people are often overworked and underpaid, and they do not have it in themselves to provide much more than what is asked of them, nor should they have to. Like I said before, EDI is work, and people should be compensated for their work. When leaders support an EDI strategy or initiative, it means they are actively promoting or championing it, not just accepting it or letting it happen. They are pushing it forward, ensuring it gains traction. So here are a couple of tips for achieving or obtaining leadership buy-in. First, strike up a casual conversation with leadership about EDI. How do they feel about EDI, broadly speaking? Why might they be hesitant or reluctant to adopt EDI policies and practices? Taking what you have learned from this conversation, start developing a proposal. You're going to schedule a more formal conversation with leadership where you will propose or pitch the idea of investing in EDI and making sure you have a good understanding of leaders' priorities. So, what are the biggest concerns? Are they focused on reducing costs, attracting investors, increasing sales, outperforming competitors? Whatever their priorities are, be sure to include them in your proposal. The purpose of this conversation is to really make a compelling argument for EDI, so you really want to try to quote unquote speak their language. Be sure to go through the advantages of EDI in your proposal, drawing on data from credible sources. Provide leadership with an idea of the kinds of EDI initiatives that might benefit your organization and what those initiatives would look like in practice. Do your best to address any other pain points that come up, things that might be causing the leaders to hesitate or hold back. Consider, for instance, leaders who might be under the impression that EDI is too costly. If this is the case, remind them that there are tons of free resources out there, like this one, the Gateway to EDI project. You could also restate some of the benefits of EDI, emphasizing the fact that EDI has proven to be a worthwhile investment. Other leaders might feel like EDI will require too much of their time. If this is the case, let them know that this work is not all going to fall on their shoulders. You and your colleagues will be the ones leading this initiative and championing EDI in your workplace. Other leaders might be concerned about resistance, that is, resistance from employees who find EDI quote-unquote uncomfortable. In this case, let the leader or leaders know that you are committed to education and that you will make the importance of this work clear to your teammates. Still, other leaders might feel like they don't know enough about EDI. They might be nervous about promoting something they aren't familiar with. If you sense that this might be the case, restate the fact that you are committed to education, including the education of leadership. Let the conversation come to its natural conclusion, then try to schedule another conversation for a later date. Give yourself some time to come up with a plan for your EDI project. What kind of EDI initiatives do you want to try and implement? Why? How long will this take? Who will be working with you? This is what you're going to talk about during your next meeting, the specifics of your EDI project. You will also want to talk about the resources you're going to need and whether leadership can provide you with these resources. So, do they have the budget? Do they have the seniority? Once this conversation, the third conversation, comes to a close, it's just a matter of getting started. For a lot of people, getting started means forming an EDI committee. This is what we will be talking about in the next lesson, Lesson 2. However, it's important to remember that although we've structured Module 3 in a particular way, that is, we've put the lessons in a particular order, you do not have to do things in this order. For example, you might just decide to conduct an EDI assessment or set EDI goals before setting up an EDI committee, and that's okay. The important thing is that you do what's best for your organization. Before we get into it though, let's talk about the 3 Jedi Hub lenses: disability, indigeneity, and racialized newcomer status. So another point you can use to achieve buy-in is noting that leaders have a duty to this work. That is EDI work under the TRC and the ACA, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, and the Accessible Canada Act. The final report published by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission states that employers must work towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples of Canada, something we'll talk about more in Module 4. The Accessible Canada Act, for its part, states that organizations under federal responsibility must work to identify, prevent, and remove barriers to accessibility for Canadians with disabilities. However, there's a big difference between doing EDI work because you feel like you have to do it and doing it because you personally believe it's important. That's the difference between surface level buy-in and genuine buy-in. With surface level buy-in, leaders are only supportive of EDI because they think it looks good. It's almost like a PR stunt for them. But with genuine buy-in, leaders support EDI because they recognize its importance, both in terms of ethics or morality and in terms of organizational development and return on investment. So leaders genuinely want to implement EDI initiatives, and they genuinely want them to succeed. They don't just want to make it look like they've implemented these initiatives. Genuinely buying into EDI means personalizing EDI, so taking it personally, knowing that you need to work on yourself and not just on the organization. You, like your employees, need to make the time for learning and self-reflection, because without learning and without self-reflection, it's just surface level buy-in. Thanks for watching, everyone. This brings us to the end of Lesson 1. We'll see you in the next one.